or Iglesia ni Cristo.
Hello, everyone. Greetings to all of you, and welcome back to Valley Grown, where we have meaningful conversations and foster genuine connections to everyone. My name is Melvi Tamayo, and I will be your host in tonight's episode. Tonight's discussion is all about the art of listening. Have you experienced or ever experienced in your life where you've been unheard, misunderstood, and feel disconnected? Tonight, we will dive into the very importance of listening actively. Of course, I'm not alone. I have with me tonight all of our beautiful co-hosts or panelists with me, Jill, Caitlin, and Melanie. Say hi, everybody.
Hello, everybody. Thank you so much for tuning in and welcome.
All right,
Hi,
so let's
thank
go
you
ahead
again.
Okay, let's go ahead and dive into our conversation. Now, to all of you, Jill, Melanie, and Caitlin, define active listening. Anyone can answer.
I would love to go first. I would love to go first. I'm so sorry if I get like geeky about this, just because I study psychology and we learn a lot about active listening. So, active listening is really important in conversations and especially in small group dynamics. So when you're actively listening, you're trying to understand another person's perspective without any distractions or without any judgment. So another word for it is deliberate listening. So it's a process where you're understanding, you're evaluating, you're analyzing any type of message that someone is trying to convey. There's a really good TED Talk. I love TED Talks, by the way, not sponsored, by Ronnie Polaneczky, I think that's it. And she says that deliberate listening doesn't change change the people who are being listened to, but it changes the listener. So active listening is a very crucial part of communication.
I love what you said when you said crucial part of communication, indeed, because that's what we're all about in this branding, right? In our episodes, we're all about communication and being able to understand each other. Jill or Melanie, do you have any feedback when it comes to her answer?
I love that answer. So great job, Caitlin. I can definitely, I definitely agree with her. So for me, I feel like active listening is when somebody is fully engaged into understanding what that message is being portrayed onto them. Not just listening, but they're actually understanding what is being portrayed. So in short.
I like that, Jill. And I want to add to that, for me personally, active listening, besides understanding what that person is saying, it's also applying what was the message that you received. So, for example, right, as a parent, if I ask my daughter to do some kind of task, the only reason how I would know that she actively listened is she actually fulfilled that task. Because she could tell me, yes, yes, mom, But then if she did not do that task, did she actively listen? I guess.
Yes, absolutely. If there's one thing that I see actually in all of your answers and heard and understood is being present. 100%. No distractions. Because the minute we allow distractions when we're having a conversation with someone, and I think all of us probably experience this, right? Especially when we're consumed with so many responsibilities. And not only that, but our mind can be so distracting sometimes when it's running 24/7, if you can relate, right? So now, can you differentiate with me or give an example of maybe in your life or experiences where you can differentiate between active listening and just merely listening? Anyone? Melanie, you look like you have the answer.
Yeah. Just like what I mentioned, to me, when you say active listening, there is an action that's attached to what you just heard. Listening means I understood exactly what you said. And you can reflect that by allowing others to feel that you empathize with them and you actually felt what they said, even if, let's say, you don't respond in words, but you just looking at them, nodding, and really being there so that they can perhaps vent what their frustrations or what their emotions are in the moment. To me, that's listening.
Mm-hmm.
Love it, love it. It's also us telling others that we care when we're paying attention to them, right? How about you, Jill and Caitlin? Any experiences or how we can, I'm sure we've had our own instant situations where we'll feel like we're talking to somebody, but then it seems like they're listening, but then they're not.
Mm-hmm.
How can you tell the difference?
Yeah.
Jill, you go ahead. Yeah.
The one thing that really just comes to mind, just from personal experience, is I hate, or no, I don't want to say hate, that's a strong word, but I dislike very much when I'm speaking to somebody, especially if it's a, pretty important matter and they're multitasking. And, I ask if they could, maybe stop what they're doing. And they also insist that, oh, well, I can multitask. I'm still listening. To me, I don't feel like that's active listening because, again, they're not fully engaged. You may hear me, but you may not be fully understanding every bit of part that I'm trying to, send the message about. So to me, I feel like that's just active. It's active listening when they're, like I said, fully engaged, when they're understand, they're giving you their full attention and responses as well.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, because when you're multitasking, you're not really giving your 100% into something. You're like, 20% of you is doing this, 20% of you is doing this. And when someone is talking to you, you can't give them your full attention because you're not listening to them 100%. So like listening could just be hearing. Like you listen to music or maybe there's background noise or someone could be talking to you, but you're tuned out. But active listening requires you to look at the person's face, look at their nonverbal cues, and even asking questions to clarify things if they're telling you a story or like paraphrasing what they said to really maximize your understanding of what they're trying to say. So in a way, like active listening, it's not just about making someone feel heard, but it's also about making them feel valued because you're trying your best to understand them and to be present, like what we're all saying.
100%, giving your full attention.
Oh, yeah. My active listening right now is being tested. As a host, we have to multitask. So I'm listening to you, but I'm also doing something on the side. I promise you, I am listening to you actively.
Yes,
okay?
It's all right. It's okay. As hosts, we all do that. So it's totally fine.
I'm glad that you guys can understand that. Okay, now when it comes to active listening, now that we've covered a little bit, I mean, we can cover so much aspects when it comes to this topic.
Mm-hmm.
And what I want to know from each of you now is, how do you practice active listening in your life or in your conversations with others? Yes, I see Jill raising her hand.
So for me, if you're anything like me, I get distracted so easily, like squirrel. And so for me, in order for me to be fully engaged in a conversation or knowing what somebody's trying to tell me, even in conferences, work, services, everything, I always like nod my head and I'm like just intently just zoned in that moment. And I just, when I notice that when I start like nodding my head, then it kind of becomes like a snowball effect. I'm like, oh yeah, like tell me more. Or like I'll try to, if I'm really talking to somebody, I have to like repeat kind of what they say. Like, a lot of times when someone says, oh, I know they just told me their name, but I forgot it. I notice that when I repeat their name, like, oh, my name is John. Oh, hi, John. Nice to meet you. Then I'll remember when I know I'm like actively listening. So I'm always trying to nod my head, ask questions. Those are just like little ways that I kind of, utilize in conversations.
I can totally relate to that because I'm horrible with names. I have to constantly repeat it at least 3 times in the conversation for it to stick. How about you, Melanie or Caitlin? How do you guys practice active listening in your life?
Personally, I know this is something that I still need to really work on. When you're a parent and you have so many things in your mind, trying to get everybody ready, trying to prepare food for everybody, and then trying to clean up, sometimes that's when kids come up to you and start wanting to talk. So your mind is already running 100 miles per minute, and then at the same time trying to get everybody to the car so you can drop them off to school. That's when they decide they want to talk. And so that is definitely something I'm still trying to work on because of like time limit or with time management, and the time that they try to talk to you is sometimes not the most, like, the best time to talk in the moment. You're like already late. I'm like, you really need to get out. So
There's a time and
one
place.
thing that I've started to do, because sometimes like my daughter would try to be like, just when I'm trying to open the door, getting her in, that's when she's like, Mom. And I'm like, okay, you need to like get in the car first so that we can go. So now I tell her, okay, I definitely understand you need to talk to me in the moment, but let me make sure that I get you in the car, get you safe, and then we can start the conversation after. So I think allowing time, or if in the moment we cannot process or do that active listening, because it is really important. And you guys already mentioned, we need to engage, we need to listen, and Jill mentioned, it's not okay when you're trying to talk to somebody and they're trying to still finish other tasks. So I think it's more on, now I'm trying to be like, I'm setting a time. I know we talked about boundaries before, but this is not necessarily boundary. It's more on time management, that I really value what you're trying to tell me right now, but we're going to talk about this more later. So now I'm definitely trying to get into that. So we're not trying to ignore what is the conversation. We're not trying to ignore the conversation, but putting it in a place in the right time. So I just hope that would work also with other people, because I know like sometimes some conversation does need to happen in the moment. So if you guys have any like advice, that would be helpful for me. So yeah, that to me is how I've been trying to demonstrate active listening.
That's actually a good one. It's a good point because we don't mean to be dismissive.
Mm-hmm.
We just need the right moment. And I've also done it, Melanie, where in the past or even at work, well, I'll tell them, is there any chance we can reconvene this conversation? Because right now there is a project that I really need to finish and I'm on a time crunch and it's just been hectic the whole day, for example. So then they would understand. And I will be the one to, of course, initiate the phone call or the email and say, okay, I'm ready to have this conversation now. What about you, Caitlin?
I think for me, when a way I demonstrate active listening, what first comes to mind is work, and I work with kids. And so, for example, when I am at work and I have a kid telling me about their day at school or maybe like a problem they're having, I really try my best to dig deep into what they are saying. Because, kids express themselves in ways that go beyond words. So like what I mentioned before, those nonverbal expressions, their choice of words. I try to pay close attention to their tone and things like that, and even body language. And, kids have really big feelings, and I want to make sure that I'm like maybe sitting at their level, or and I'm like nodding, like what everybody's saying, maintaining eye contact, trying to respond calmly and understanding, and to create that safe space. And I feel like I practice that not only with my kiddos, but with my coworkers too, when we're deliberating about our day. How could we make X, Y, and Z better so the next day could be better? I try to give them my full attention so I can understand their point of view. And then I only hope they do the same for me so that they can understand my point of view. So that's the first thing that comes to mind.
Sorry, go ahead.
Oh, yeah, go ahead.
I was just going to say, and I love that about you, Caitlin. I admire your patience and how much you care and understand, or try to understand, kids in general as much as possible. So I've witnessed that when seeing you with kids. It's amazing. So I love it.
I know she has a lot of patience with us too, huh?
I love y'all. Okay, love y'all.
Now that you've mentioned all of these things when it comes to how we demonstrate active listening or how we apply this in our lives, what about conflicts? How do you think active listening help resolve conflicts in various situations? Anyone?
to help resolve
I think
conflicts.
Mm-hmm. How
Okay,
does
go ahead,
active listening resolve or help resolve conflicts?
Melanie.
active listening, I feel like when you practice active listening, when there's a conflict happening, it does take a lot of patience. And I feel like you really have to deny yourself in the moment because you have to really take your pride to a level of not trying to push your conviction in the moment. So you have to allow that time, that patience, and just take deep breaths, swallow that pride really hard, and then have that conversation to where that person can really relate what they're trying to say.
Yeah.
Because sometimes I feel that in conflicts, it happens because there's a misunderstanding
Mm-hmm.
already. So I think we need to figure out what did you understand and what did I understand, that we're not communicating this in the parallel way. Like, why are we not flowing right?
Mm-hmm.
Because everybody has different perspective.
Mm-hmm.
But if we allow others to speak first and say, X, Y, and Z. And I think this is why I love INCRadio, because that's what we kind of do. We actively listen to each other and then points out the different, like the great points that we have. And if we can just apply what we do here in real life situation, I think that relationships would definitely work so much better.
Yes, I agree. Listen to understand and not listen to respond. Because sometimes, you know, how when we're so excited, somebody
Mm-hmm.
says a word, and we're like, oh, and you're just eager to jump in the conversation. Oh, me too, me too, me too. I got something to say. And then the person looked at you and said, but I haven't told my side of the story. Why are you hogging the conversation all of a sudden? So then now when you say things, she says things, or he said, she said, then you have this misconception, misunderstanding. Another problem is also assumption. What did
Mm-hmm.
you actually hear
Mm-hmm.
when you were having the conversation with someone? So how do you, Jill and Caitlin, do you have any feedback or respond to that? Any
Um,
experiences?
I think it's very common for people to think that they're always in the right. However, like everyone in a way has the right to be heard. It's only right that we listen to someone else so we can understand different perspectives. When you take that time to understand someone else, you're creating patience. You're allowing for a relationship to grow instead of wither. And, even though we may have our differences when we talk things out, even when we say something like, hey, earlier I took this as XYZ, is that what you meant? And then maybe the other person says, no, I didn't mean that at all. I meant ABC. And just being direct with another person can just lessen miscommunication and misunderstandings way better, because it's way better to, I guess, like vocalize or voice your concerns rather than just keep it bottled up. So that's a way active listening can help in conflicts or misunderstandings.
That's awesome. Jill, you have anything to add?
Yeah, absolutely. So I feel like active listening does help resolve a lot of conflict because it allows you to see from all perspectives. It allows you to hear the full story from each individual or whoever's involved from point A to point B without any, distractions, allowing them to, mention or express their feelings, how they felt in the moment, tell you the full picture, as opposed to being impatient and cutting them off or making those assumptions. Like you said, it allows everybody to give their side. And if you're actively listening, it will by default hopefully allow you to fully understand their point of view and be like, okay, I understand you did this. That kind of makes sense now. And then vice versa. So I feel like that's what active listening how active listening helps resolve conflicts, because it just allows you to see the full picture in a whole 360 way.
No, that's just one of the many benefits of practicing active listening. Now, I would like to know, in your lives, in your relationships, whether if it's at work or personal, how has active listening benefited you?
Active listening has definitely benefited me in so many different ways, because for me, I mean, I try to be as direct as possible, and I always want people to hear, if something were to happen, I want them to hear it coming from me first, and as opposed to anybody else. So for me, especially at work or just in general, but one experience that did stood out to me was I didn't appreciate how somebody spoke on a call, or one of a conference call or a meeting, and it just kind of made me feel very uncomfortable. And so after the call, I just gave myself a little 5 minutes, and I, approached that person directly, and I very calmly, I just let them know, like, hey, I didn't appreciate how you spoke to me. I felt X, Y, and Z. And then, and I was messaging this, and, from that, that individual requested that, okay, let's have a conversation. Let's talk about this. And then, I was able to express how I felt, and they said, I apologize. I'm so sorry. That's not how I felt, or that's not what I meant. And I did kind of feel like I was coming off a little bit strong, but I'm glad that you validated it. And so just coming from a perspective of, peace, and not trying to be so aggressive in ways in approaching conflict, allowed, active listening for both ends. So that's kind of how that was.
That's wonderful. You connected, meaning you actually bridge the gap there when it comes to communication. That's wonderful. Melanie and Caitlin?
Yeah,
Any
so
advice?
in my line of work, patients get easily frustrated, especially if, they find out there's delays or there's something that they have not understood when it comes to, like, let's say, their diagnosis. So instead of trying to tell them what's going on, I just let them really let their frustrations out. So I've definitely applied that active listening, and until they're actually done, because they just let them talk, let them let them vent, let their frustrations out. And then after that, then I start to address, like, what they mention, each concern. And then from there, I noticed there's a change. So instead of, like, oh, I want to talk to your manager now, versus, okay, I appreciate that you heard what my frustration is about, and now thank you for, they thank us, or they thank me for now addressing the situation. So that's where I definitely have seen the benefit of active listening.
Again, connection in disconnection, right? We can disconnect in so many ways, but yet we can also connect in so many ways. And active listening is definitely one of those solutions that we can have in our lives. How about you, Caitlin?
I feel like I can see the benefits of active listening. Funnily, when disagreements happen, just because maybe something was misunderstood or a tone seems kind of off, I think that happens a lot, especially when emotions are involved, or when people are communicating from different places mentally, or even culturally, when I misunderstand something simply because another person conveys what they're saying differently than I would, like at work, at school, just in public. And when that happens, I learn to pause and listen instead of reacting, kind of like what you, Melvi, mentioned earlier. And I learned that, checking in, clarifying with another person, and staying calm, instead of it turning into a really big argument and becoming this huge thing, can turn into a moment of clarity and understanding instead. So it's funny that disagreement is where we can really use our active listening, if that makes any sense.
Yeah, absolutely. Because it helps us reflect. It helps us reflect in our behaviors, how we convey the message, how we receive the message. So it's not a one-way street, as we call it, right? It's a two-way street, and we have to work together in order to have that connection, that great bond, in order to improve in our communication and relationships with others. Now, let's take a little break. Let's play a game. Let me test your active listening skills. The game is called Word Chain. So the category is fruits and vegetables. So Melanie, I'm going to start with you, then Jill, then Caitlin, and then myself. I'm horrible with fruits and vegetables, so if I can't name a thing, it'll be my timeout, I guess. So let's say Melanie named a fruit or a vegetable. the last letter will be the next word. So you have to think of the name of the fruit or vegetable with the last letter of what she says. Okay?
Oh, okay.
All right.
All right, go ahead. Start,
Good.
Melanie.
Banana.
Apple.
E? Why am I going blank already? I know it's okay. I'm out.
Eggplant. Eggplant. Okay, eggplant. Next.
Oh, true. Melanie, I think it's you. Eggplant.
Oh, I thought. Oh, you. Oh, no.
Just point you know.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay.
I was waiting for my other.
Okay.
just
Oh,
said.
plant.
Wait, what was the last word?
Eggplant.
Eggplant.
Tangerine.
Elephant. Yeah, that's the first thing that came to my mind. What other vegetables?
Um.
He's hard. Okay. Start over. He's hard. I can't think of any more. Caitlin, think of a fruit or a
That starts with a T.
I guess we could do a collective. E.
Mhm.
T.
Um.
Wait, are we starting with E or T now? Paul?
E.
Oh, E. Elephant's not a fruit.
Yeah.
I promise I eat my fruits and vegetables. It's just not like clicking.
I only know
Tomato.
Okay, there we go.
That's
What is
a
it?
tomato.
What's
Oh wait, eggplant. I had T. No, she had E, right?
I said tangerine, and then you said.
I'm so okay. I'm out. I'm out.
okay? That was so much fun. We actually tested our skills when it comes to active listening. Now we need to learn more about fruits and vegetables. All right. The next segment we have before we close is cultivate empathy. We know that active listening cultivates empathy, right? So how does active listening cultivate empathy? Caitlin, I'm going to start with you because I know that last show you mentioned that you love or you believe in love and empathy.
Wait, what was the question again? Just
How does active listening build empathy?
I
She
apologize.
wasn't actively listening.
I was
Yeah,
very
just
caught
short,
up in the
just
game.
short answer. We only have a
I
few
was-
minutes left.
I was very caught up in the game. Sorry. It was
Active listening.
yes, active listening. I'm practicing it right now, I promise. So how does active listening build empathy? When you actively listen, you're creating a safe space for the other person to talk to. If that makes any sense. You're listening with an open heart. You're listening with an open mind. Like we've all mentioned, you are seeing things from another person's perspective. You are trying to see what it's like in their shoes. If that makes any sense. You're not making a snap judgment. You're there to listen. You're there to learn from them, and you're there to connect with them. And that's what empathy is all about.
Yes. Melanie, Jill?
I think it allows people to feel they are important. It allows them to feel that you actually care about them, and it builds that relationship.
Next, Jill.
I would say that active listening builds respect. So it allows you to respect each other, hearing from each side, understanding, and and even if there is a disagreement with the actual standing, at least you can walk away knowing that you came to an understanding of the conversation, and you respect each other at the end of the day.
Nice. Well, thank you so much, Caitlin, Melanie, and Jill, for being with me tonight. Thank you, listeners and viewers, for being with us and taking your time to always support us in all of our shows. So if you haven't subscribed, go ahead and click that subscribe button as well as the notification button so you'll never ever miss any of our episodes. Before we close our show, we'd also like to thank all of our spiritual leaders who continuously support us in all that we do, including teaching us in how to apply active listening in all aspects of our lives. Thank you, first of all, to our beloved executive minister, Brother Eduardo V. Manalo, as well as Brother Angel Manalo, our Deputy Executive Minister, and also our INCRadio station manager, Brother Wally Taray. Thank you po for all that you do. And listeners and viewers, without you, we wouldn't be here. So hopefully that this episode can also resonate with all of you. And remember to listen with focus and speak with precision. So hopefully you have learned something from all of us tonight. We'll see you again next time only here on Valley Grown, presented by INC Radio, Central Valley, California Satellite Studio. Good night, everybody. Have a great weekend and see you next week. Bye.
Bye. Have a good night.
Bye,
Take
everybody.
care.